fellow Americans, are we reaping our harvest degree? Have we built our house on sinking sand? Why are we being ugly Americans?
Hi, this is CJ Holmes, founder of Homeowners for Justice, and your show for today's live stream about a second case pending in Texas. We've invited James back with us. He is on the air. I think we've got the speakers and the microphones working. But before we invite him to share with us what is going on in this other lawsuit, after yesterday's show, a lot of people contacted me wanting to review the Rodriguez versus Countrywide BOA lawsuit. So we've got that today. And before we talk about the rulings, and you can chat your questions. I know chat is working because thank you, Kimmy, she's chatted. And I want to remind you that a lot of times your cache in your computer may be limiting what things look like and what you can get on your machine. So these days, particularly with NSA spying on everybody, and who knows what kind of bugs they're putting in our equipment, we need to clear our cache frequently, and you could always go Control F5 and reload that screen. So here's where the chat is. I've got it, sent it out on the email, and for some reason many of you your emails bounced when I sent out the blast alert today, and I don't know why they bounced. Maybe because of a website, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, this is on the info page. Oh, I want you to take a look at this, because this is where we've got these key info spreadsheets. And I want to just quickly show you the contact spreadsheet. I've added a lot of contacts, like the recorders in the state of California, district supervisors, county supervisors, commissioners, mayors, vice mayors, and this is what we need to share as a group. So go there. You should have access when you have the link, and the links are right there on the info page, and send me information so that we can get it inserted into the contact sheet. Kimmy has suggested, and I'm working with her on getting a form set up so that you can just enter that information, and then we can just approve it, and boom, 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 it goes into the spreadsheet. But for now, just send me the info. We'll put it in. We're still working out the columns and that kind of thing. And here is the lawsuit sheet. So if you want to look at the Rodriguez v. Countrywide BOA lawsuit, it is linked right here. It happens to be on row 7. You can get that link for yourself. I obviously will have the link in the comments once we start talking about the case. And then I have a whole bunch of other links that may be involved, depending on what James wants us to show. I've uploaded everything so I can link everything. I'm just not real sure what to link yet. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The next thing is, so I want to cover just a few highlights before we start bringing James on and discussing this case. It has been brought to my attention, and some of our contacts are very, very upset about this, and that is Mandelman seems to have gone over to the dark side with Bank of America. So just to point that out to you, you always need to pay attention to who is saying what and from what perspective is that coming. I wanted to quickly show you a chart. This is the primary mortgage market interest rate chart. Rates have just bumped. It's very unusual that in just a very short time, like a few weeks, it's gone up a whole point. And yes, everybody is saying, but historically it's low compared to our past. However, it has been so low for so long, any rise is shaking the housing market. So if you're thinking of selling, now would be a good time before rates climb, because the higher they climb, the fewer the buyers. And you connect that with this chart and this comment talking about cash sales. You've heard me say, if you've watched it all, repeatedly about the real estate market, that such a high percentage of the market is all cash, that when cash changes its mind for any reason whatsoever, the market's going to feel it. And so this is a article that talks exactly about that. I just wanted to show you this chart. This is the REO is real estate owned. That means foreclosures. How that's the red line. And these are all cash purchases. So you'll see that cash purchases are declining on foreclosures. You'll see that cash purchases are slightly rising on short sales, but their cash purchases are also falling on non-distressed normal seller sales. What this means is, as cash disappears, buyers, owner-occupant or investor buyers with loans have to step into the gap and purchase property. And if they don't, prices will fall. You know, I've been talking about that. And I wanted to also then just quickly point out, of course, we all know here that bonuses have been given to Bank of America employees for home foreclosures. This is a great article. I want to play just a couple of minutes of the conversation because it talks about what I've been referring to as offshore dragons. These are the wholly owned subsidiary entities, servicing entities, Aquin, Nation Star, these kinds of entities that B of A has offloaded the servicing and loan modification rights to, that are just thumbing their nose at the rules. But down here at the bottom, I just got to show this to you, read it out loud. There's ex-employees. This is the Department of Treasury, who is in charge of overseeing HAMP, has failed to discipline a single bank for their blatant misconduct, I'd call it illegal, and refusal to follow the program's guidelines. Lying to somebody is not legal. How can you lie to somebody and then just call that misconduct? That's my opinion. So ex-employees listed specific names of top Bank of America executives that were involved in directly authorizing these fraudulent transactions. That's where they lied to people about their loan mods and foreclosed on them instead. And we're going to really be hitting this issue today. Do the banks actually have right to property title? The answer is no. We need a judge to say no, and then we can go after them for fraudulent misrepresentation. That's the point of the case of today. But let me finish the article. The delay and rejection programs, this is how they lied to the borrowers trying to get a loan modification, were methodically carried out under the overall direction of, and here's some names, they're naming names, Patrick Carey, a vice president who oversaw the entire Eastern region's loan modification process. Other executives included John Behrens, Patricia Felch, Rebecca Marion, who is now working for JP Morgan Chase and happens to be under investigation for a separate financial fraud case. Wow. And of course, the very first statement is, homeowners have filed a multi-state class action lawsuit against B of A for scamming them into foreclosure. Now, yesterday I asked James a question about, okay, all these lawsuits, we're already talking about B of A failing and being absorbed by pick a bank, somebody else. And so my question is, where do people go to get any restitution? Let's say B of A just goes bankrupt, just shuts the doors. Now what? Now what? Who pays? And that's when he said first come, first serve. So this is not a very positive outcome. And with that, oh, I want to just, you just got to hear this because this is absolutely true, and you need to send this to everybody because this is what everybody is facing in the world, particularly here in this country, is more or less where our concern is right now.
Let's step away from the banks for a moment, Richard, and let's talk now about non-bank servicers that BOA, Bank of America, and others were working with to sell millions of mortgages. Companies like Nation Star, Oswin, and Greentree. As I understand it, these companies are not subject to a lot of the guidelines that the government set up after these foreclosure crises. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that's important and what these companies have been up to as of late?
Well, there have been patterns of abuse that involve banks, for example, stretching a negotiation out with a struggling homeowner and collecting large sums of money while these various mortgage service organizations continue to collect and administer the mortgage. Then they'll switch servicers, and the new servicer will, quote unquote, have different rules, and they will say, well, those negotiations don't apply now that we're stepping in and handling this mortgage. And when that happens, you see these homeowners basically being told, everything you've been paying for and negotiating for the last year, 18 months, whatever it is, doesn't count anymore, and we're starting from scratch. And that's often being used as an excuse to foreclose.
Yes or no, will we ever see bank executives fired as a result of this?
Not unless people march in the street demanding it, because we don't have a government that wants to do it. Neither political party has shown the spine for it.
Thank you so much. Richard Eskow, Senior Fellow at the Campaign for America's Future.
Okay, we need to connect with him because he's absolutely right. And this is absolutely what they are doing. I hear this anecdotally from people contacting me saying, I've got a loan modification with B of A, and then they sold that servicing and loan mod to Aquin, and now I'm screwed. They're saying they don't want to honor that, and they're trying to foreclose. We have to stop this, and we have to help people understand that if they're not facing this right now, they soon will be. Because unless we stop these lying fraudsters, they will take everything they possibly can. So, James, welcome to the show. Thank you for being patient.
No problem, CJ.
Okay, so now, yesterday, just a quick recap. We talked about the Nueces County v. Bank of America MERS Corp. Recon Trust lawsuit in an interlocutory ruling from the judge, basically saying that the county has 2 weeks, which should end next Wednesday, I believe, the 17th, to amend the charges for the criminal aspect of that lawsuit against these entities. Go ahead.
But part of that lawsuit continues anyway. They're only amending a portion of it.
Right. And to refresh our mind, what is continuing?
I think it's the fraudulent misrepresentation, which is a criminal offense.
Yes.
And I don't remember because that was yesterday. I'm dealing with today.
Truly, James, I do understand how that goes. That was so yesterday. Now, since yesterday, right after the show, lots of people wanted to talk about the Rodriguez case. So you've sent me everything that you had. I've got the original lawsuit, and I'm going to put that up on the screen right now. And then can you just sort of recap, because the original was filed May 15, but then there's been a whole bunch of other stuff happened during since then. That's only been 2 months. Can you sort of bring us up to speed, and then what we should look at?
Well, the Rodriguez case is a unique case, and he's a unique person. He tried to do it pro se himself and went to state court, or went to federal court, got that dismissed, went to state court, got it removed to federal. But his first federal case was dismissed, and he didn't have the right argument, so it's just, we'd have to take it as, and it's apparent that it was dismissed without prejudice, which means he could bring it back with the right argument, but he took it to state, the banks removed it to federal, and they opened the door to allow Rodriguez to sit there and take the lead, go on the offensive, and he's never backed off. But now, in the process, he's also had to fight at the county level an eviction suit.
Hey, James, before you talk, are you outside? Because
No, I'm inside.
We're hearing wind noise, I think, in the microphone. Can you
Shouldn't be any wind noise. I'm in a quiet room.
Oh, okay. So this is just the microphone noise. Oops. All right. Okay. So what should we be looking at? What do you recommend that we talk through?
Well, the thing that most people are going to have to look at is they're going to get a dual legal tracking. They're going to come after the property at the same time they're going to be coming after the equity on the note. And you better be prepared to argue both of them. And when they're coming after the property for possession, you need what's in the courts to show that they don't have a claim to title. Go away. And that's what Rodriguez did, is he proved to the county court they don't have a claim to title because it's being adjudicated in federal court. So the county court was like, okay, I don't have a colorable claim I can give it to anybody, to the bank, because theirs is under dispute. And Joey Rodriguez is one of these few people that had a warranty deed that did not have a vendor's lien to it, so he could walk into the court and go, Your Honor, I've got a colorable claim that's not under dispute. Title is mine.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that again because you've used terms that even I don't understand. So, what you've sent me a whole bunch of documents. Is there a document that you could show a place in that we could look at to help understand? You're talking about two separate legal tracks at the same time, correct?
This is an entire another court scenario down at the county level, which you don't even have any paperwork on that, and I'm only aware of it, and I don't even think I have the paperwork on that because all Joey needed to do was walk into the courtroom. Your Honor, here's my colorable claim to title. It's not under dispute. The bank's colorable claim is under dispute in federal court. I have superiority claim. It's mine. Tell them go away, and that's what happened.
What do you mean by colorable claim to title? I don't understand that term.
The warranty deed shows, or the grant deed, or whatever terminology to the deed shows that the buyer has title. That's a colorable claim. A trustee deed that was created fraudulently by a bank is only an allegement of a colorable claim. And if there's fraud involved, then it's a fraudulent claim to title. It's not a colorable claim to title. Colorable claim is just vocabulary used within the courts and the legal system.
All right. So his deed is basically valid. Their claim to the title on the property is under question.
Right. His deed showed that he had a superior colorable claim to title. The bank could only show their claim as being under dispute at the federal courts. So under the law, Joey Rodriguez had some claim to possession. The property remains his.
Now okay, so that was at the county level, and that was because they were trying to evict him, right?
Right, and the same scenario in California is they're going to dual track it. They're going to try to evict you as while you're challenging in a lawsuit, whether it's in state or federal, it doesn't matter. They're going to try to evict you, and if you're in federal and you get evicted, the banks are going to walk in and immediately request dismissal because you no longer have an interest in the property. Guess what? Dismiss, go away.
Right. And see, there are many people that have contacted me and said, I'm right in the middle of the lawsuit, and they're trying to evict me out of the house, they're foreclosing right in the middle of the lawsuit.
They're trying to use that fraudulent color of claim,
Right.
colorable claim to title, as grounds to grant the eviction. Prove that their colorable claim to title is fraudulent, then they have no colorable claim to title. Go away.
And so really, James, what I've been picking up from you in our discussions is that the whole point, the crux of the matter of all this whole sham and scam and securitization and all this stuff, it's all about, do they have the right to the title of the property?
That is correct.
So really the rest of it is, if you will, static. All these other questions and determinations and issues that are raised, and they may be, valid, but what really the heart of the actual, what I'm going to call the shift in the tide, legal rulings for the owners against the banks, is going to be this issue.
Yeah, I think Robert Sadler on your sidebar described the colorable claim comes mostly out of the federal BK courts.
And what did he say? I'm not able to watch that while I'm on this show. Sorry.
The term colorable claim is most often used in federal BK court during a MFRS, motion for relief or stay, and a colorable claim is not decided on the merits, but merely upon their asserts.
They just assert? And
Yeah,
that's
they
good
just come
enough?
in lie and say, we got a colorable claim, and you're going to get your ass kicked because now the burden is on you to prove that their colorable claim is not colorable.
No wonder the owners have been losing. These people, well, see, if they're willing to go into court and lie, that is the problem, right?
Well, who's going to challenge them? You can't. Most people can't get it out of equity. To
Right.
bring up the fact is they've lied and committed a criminal act.
Right. Right.
Because this was not designed to be unengineered in the time frame it was. It wasn't designed that way. It just happened to turn out that way, and so they got a problem.
The banks have a problem.
Oh yeah, the bank's got a. There's millions of homeowners out there that are going to suffer, but they're not going to suffer like what the banks are fixing to be experienced to. And there is going to be a lot of financial harm come to all these people that depend on this intangible wealth that's a crock of crap.
Right.
The only value in this world, look at the gross domestic product of the world. It's 60 trillion. Okay, if you're going to try to cover a $2 trillion secondary market, you're going to need 3 times the gross domestic product to be able to give that 200 trillion its 5% interest or its 30% return of the yield that they want for the investors. But wait a minute, that's based off of total gross domestic product. What's available? What is the net disposable income left from GDP? It's not the GDP. It's probably only $6 to $10 trillion is all you got available to cover a $200 trillion secondary market. So yeah, there's going to be some intangible secondary wealth lost, and it's going to be massive. And that's what a lot of retired people, when they invest in these hedge funds,
Right.
they're wanting this intangible value yield return to them so that they can live in this intangible world.
Right.
But this was all put in design and play decades ago to get it to this point. So as they grew up to this point, they should have, when they were 20 years old, realized what's being done to them. They didn't, so now they're 70. We got a term, it's SBS, suffer bitch suffer.
Well, this is unfortunate because so many people, have been lied and cheated to and didn't understand. I just read this morning, by the way, about the hedge funds. You just mentioned the hedge funds. They are now going to be allowed to start marketing. So instead of dialing this back, they're going to just run full steam ahead and suck as much money as possible out of everybody before. I think it's like a train just running for the brick wall. I think it's going to crash and hurt very badly, just like you've been saying.
Well, it's like that car commercial on television for the repair. Pay me now or pay me later. It's better to pay now because the price is less than what it's going to be 10 years from now.
Okay, now can you identify some of the pleadings? What should people be using in a fight back on a statutory claim for title, to make sure that they can get the kind of result that Rodriguez is getting? How can you help us with that?
Well, you've got to take into account if they're being dual legally tracked, they need to sit there and show that they are challenging the colorable claim, the alleged colorable claim the bank has in a higher court, so that the lower court evict them. But they also need to come in and show that they have some type of colorable claim. The homeowner has some type of colorable claim, and that would be the deed. But this is where they kicked in with the vendor's lien and sit there and says, we're going to assign the vendor's lien to the bank also. So, but this is where we were discussing yesterday. The vendor's lien is like a mechanic's lien. When the seller is paid, it goes away. But they're going to lie, and they're going to tell the investors and all this, we've got a second means of perfecting our lien. The deed with the vendor's lien. Wrong.
Okay, now just a minute. You're throwing in a term now, that a vendor's lien. So what is that, and where did you get that information? What is that about?
In a lot of real property contracts and the mortgages, they sign. When the seller sells the property, he sells it with a vendor's lien attached. And that's fine. That protects the seller to make sure that he gets paid at closing, because he wants his investment perfected until he's paid. But these contracts, like you said, are at the closing table. You don't have an opportunity to amend and choose, and plus you don't know if it's legal or not, because you don't carry a PhD in law. So you're looking at, okay, we got a deed with a vendor's lien. Okay, big would be. So the seller is protected until he gets paid. Once he gets paid, that vendor lien expires by operation of law. The banks don't want it to expire by operation of law. They want to lie and say it's valid from now on. It's their second alternate means to get to title. The seller does not retain title anymore, so that lien is irrelevant. And a vendor's lien is like a mechanic's lien. Once the mechanic is paid, the lien becomes a nullity.
Are you telling me that this happens behind the scenes at escrow?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You're a real estate broker. Go look at a
but
real estate.
But I'm not an escrow officer. See, this is the misunderstanding. The agents and brokers that do transactions have nothing to do. We cannot even get involved in behind the scenes escrow. That's the escrow officer. That's the title company. That's the escrow company.
Yeah, but you could sure read the contract.
What contract? The purchase agreement doesn't say that.
No. The warranty or the deed that transfers the property from the seller to the buyer, and see if it's got a vendor's lien with it.
I've never seen one that does.
I've seen hundreds and
like.
hundreds of them in Texas and other states.
Really? What would that is that actually stated on that page 1? I mean, I don't even know how to talk about this. What are you talking about?
It may be buried down in the document. This is we assign. This is a deed. What do they call it in California? Is it a
grant
deed?
It's a grant deed.
Okay, it's a grant deed.
They're just one page, typically.
Yeah, a grant deed with a vendor's lien. Then go read the additional contracts attached to it. See if there's a vendor's lien attached.
I've never seen anything additionally attached to it.
Maybe you don't have vendor's lien in California, and if you don't have vendor's lien in California, take that grant deed and go down and show Your Honor at the county court, I have an undisputed colorable claim to title. The banks were walking in here with a disputed colorable claim to title. Tell them to go away.
Right. Now I don't know. I'm trying to remember the people that have contacted me that have been experiencing this kind of double effort. But that makes total sense to me, that they ought to, because see, I'm looking right now at the Rodriguez lawsuit. I've been scrolling through the complaints, the statements, and here on item 21 it says that B of A is unlawfully attempting to take possession of the property. To date, they have not produced any tangible evidence to indicate there is a perfection in lien that will confirm in fact who is the legal holder in due course of the promissory note that secures the lien and that would entitle him or her to collect on the note.
Very precise statement.
Yes, and so I'm going to highly recommend, I mean, I haven't read the whole thing. What do you say, James? What would you say if I recommended everyone read these statements and use them as they can?
I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people are going to read them, don't have the time to learn, to understand, to comprehend. But I will tell you that Joe Esquivel and his company, Mortgage Compliance Investigators, damn well does know.
Yes. Yeah. But again, most people are going to need some kind of an attorney to help them in court. I because I just think of myself, all right? And if I had to do this as pro se, I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, I do and I don't. Obviously, I've got contacts. A lot of people are helping others do this, but it is just such a massive, overwhelming concept that literally people that do have to really dedicate a significant portion of their life to it.
Well, there's several things that are in play. You're going to have to dedicate 10 to 20 years of your life to get here, and that's not easy. And that's if somebody has literally an Einstein mentality. If not, you're going to need 30 or 40 years.
It's too late by then. I won't need the house. And that's why my continuing effort to try to help get what I would call a more of a wholesale solution. You know, just like we saw that speaker just on the little video clip I played. You know, if the country needs to stop this fraudulent theft of homes. And I know, James, that you told me I should not be calling it fraudulent foreclosure because that's an admission of some sort. What do you say we should be calling it?
Attempted theft of real property.
Right, because it truly is. It's an attempted theft.
When you say it's a foreclosure, you're in equity, and I see an admission, and it cringes me. It's an unlawful attempt to steal property without rights.
I want to write that down. Unlawful attempt to steal property without rights.
If they have rights, then they can do a foreclosure.
Right. That makes such good sense. And see, I've been hounding even on US dollars, using the correct terms, because when you name it correctly, then understanding becomes more clear. So we don't have US dollars, we have Federal Reserve notes that we use in our daily transactions. So you're saying it's an unlawful attempt to steal real property.
Right.
And that makes it much more clear, and it tends, just by the words, to sidestep, well, did you pay the loan? This has been the classic
whether I paid the loan or not is irrelevant to whether it's secured by real property anymore or not. It's totally irrelevant. I mean, okay, if I paid the note or not, it's irrelevant. They don't have a right to property. It's attempted theft of property.
Right.
That's your equitable versus your legal argument.
Right. And it gets away from all of those equitable issues that you were saying. It almost by actually going into that realm, you've admitted things. Things become admitted, right?
Yeah, I've always said people don't realize the smallest, stupidest thing they say is usually an admission, and they make them all day long and don't even realize it.
Exactly. Because we're not used to thinking like that.
The banks want you to think like that so they can kick your ass.
I know you're absolutely right. And it is funny, except it's not, because it's so horrible. It's ruining millions of people's lives. But it is, like you said, the one silver lining we can take away from this is that at least you are strongly of the opinion that we've figured this out. We've gotten this into court in such a manner as to stop this or shift this wholesale theft of property much sooner than they had imagined.
Yes, I believe it's happening. I was talking to a contact this morning about the Joey Rodriguez case.
Yes.
His opinion is it's going to happen, and that will turn the tide.
Now, I'm looking at the cause of actions. I just want to review what's on this because it is 80 pages. People might be a little overwhelmed by that. But the causes of action are intentional misrepresentation, fraud, intrinsic and extrinsic. Can you explain that briefly for us?
I'm not even going to try to touch intrinsic and extrinsic. I'd suggest get Black's Law Dictionary and look them up.
Okay. Representations were false. Well, exactly. In addition to numerous acts of fraud described above, the defendants represented to the plaintiff and to the consuming public in general that the defendants would assist them in accomplishing a loan mod. As described herein, those representations were false. And I've already been contacted. Another lawsuit is incorporating now those affidavits that we reviewed. I have the links to on the show library, live stream show library, and into their lawsuit as to indicate, to prove, to help support the statement that the loan modification representations were false and misrepresentation.
Well, if you're doing a loan modification, you're saying somebody's got a right to the note, but they still may not have a right to real property. They need to prove that in a court of civil law. They can't do it.
That is fascinating. So here's a question that immediately comes to my mind from that statement, and that is, if a person gets a loan modification, that doesn't necessarily mean that the bank could throw that mod away and foreclose because they still don't have the right to the property.
Unless the homeowner signed a new lien and gave away the right to the property to be foreclosed upon in that loan mod. But the loan mod is an admission that there was a debt, but is the debt still has an attachment of real property? That's the question. Under civil law, yes or no? Needs to be determined.
Yes. And see here, under fraudulent concealment, the third cause of action on Rodriguez' lawsuit, they're talking of just item 41. Defendants were legally incapable to enter into loan modification with the plaintiff. So in this lawsuit, he's there. The pleadings also include they don't own the note either. They don't have the right to title. They don't own the note.
Well, if they don't own the note, they definitely don't have a claim to title.
Or the ability to loan mod.
Yeah, and I did with talking with you, I did get confirmation that this interlocutory order has just been introduced in the Rodriguez case.
I love it. I call it the 1-2 punch. Come on, let's punch these people out. And truly, so you're expecting, we're hoping to have a complete, a final ruling, a judgment in Rodriguez case maybe as early as next week, right?
Yes.
And then that could be used in the county's case.
The county's case is over with. It was dismissed. What we'll do is take the orders from the county court and the federal court and take it to law enforcement, the local police, and have the bastards that appear on the trustee deed and all this arrested for illegal attempt theft of real property. Put handcuffs on them, haul them to jail, let them go spend 20 years in prison.
Okay, James, I'm going to ask you to repeat that, because this is what people want. We've been wanting to lock these criminals up. Now, you just said the county case. Are we talking about the interlocutory ruling?
No. There's three cases. There's three cases
a different
involved.
Case. Okay, so refresh my memory.
You got the county court eviction case.
Okay, that's the eviction case in Rodriguez.
Right,
okay.
Which is within the city of Alice, Texas. Okay, then you've got the Nueces County,
right,
which is the county directly east of the county that Rodriguez is in. They're
different
next
county.
door counties to each other.
Okay.
Now, what the other counties are going to do, I don't know yet. Don't want to know, but suspicions are they're fixing to do something. I don't know what. Don't want to know. Don't care to know. But I think something's going to happen, and I think it's going to be real quick, and I think a lot of it was dependent upon this interlocutory order. I think things are being set up, is my opinion.
I hope so. The people
I
could
think
use
there
this.
are some federal judges that want justice back into this land because
Yes.
the banks can't come in and ask the courts to turn a blind eye to justice, or you might as well free every crook in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, where does it stop? If you let these people get away with this massive fraud and cheating and lying right in front of the judges, what can we expect from the rest of the people? I mean, it's just outrageous. So, but the Nueces County is coming back to amend their claim on some criminal charges, right?
If they got any intelligence, they would.
Yes.
I can't say whether they are or aren't. I'm not privy to that. Don't want to be privy to it.
But that's basically what we saw yesterday in that order, the judge's order. And then
Well, the judge is telling them that they can come back in 14 days and amend it.
Right.
And I'm sure there are people that are informing the district attorney in Nueces County that, hey, go to Chapter 32 of the Texas Criminal Code. There's your cause of action. just change your codes to the cause of action and make it criminal and refile it and go after them.
Okay, so let's say that the dominoes fall the way we're thinking. So now you repeat what you said. You plan to take that order and then do what with it?
Rodriguez is planning on taking the county court's order where the eviction was dismissed. We want that because that identifies the names on the substitute trustees' claim or transfer of title. It gives us the names of who to put the handcuffs on. Then we go with the federal ruling saying they didn't have a legal right to do that. Now we've got the names and an opinion that they didn't have legal right, so you got attempted theft. Here's their identities. Go arrest the little bastards.
Now, James, when you say the names, you're talking, am I correct in assuming that what you mean is on the recorded documents, which I've done, numerous efforts on and analyzing your recorded documents, the names on those documents?
Yes, you got the attorney that filed it illegally. You got the attorney that represented in court and illegal action in court. Yes. You got the trustee that sat there and sold it, and he has an equal duty to the lender as to the homeowner.
Yes.
And he didn't do his fiduciary duty to determine what he was doing was legal or not. So he's going to get caught. He committed an illegal act. Your names are all on that document. That's who you criminally charge. They filed it in public records. It's prima facie. It's admitted.
Absolutely.
And there's no denying it because they put it into record.
Exactly. And see, that I've been saying now for quite a while that this is the silver lining. They've recorded these documents and they can't de-record them. They can't take them back. They're there and we have them. And I wasn't actually yet quite to the point that I am right this minute, and that is, everybody, go get your recorded documents and get it right now before they put the pressure on the recorder to erase them. Get them in print. And the fact is that their names are on there. The person that signed, the entities that are involved, up at the top, up on all the documents, United States. On the top of the upper left side, there's the who ordered this recording, when it's done, mail it to. Those are the entities that James is talking about.
Now you can show the conspiracy.
Yes. And take heart. We know that Lorraine Brown is 5 years in prison for all she pleaded guilty to was wire fraud and mail fraud for forging documents and then sending them through the mail and wire to be recorded on properties. And of course there are other. She was personally punished. There were other penalties, financial penalties by the company. I believe, like it was lender processing services, personally, they know exactly what they're doing, and their name is going to be on these documents. They and their attorneys are the ones that should be going to prison, right along with Lorraine Brown.
We'll get them.
We'll. Okay, now somebody's asking if I will show the Esquivel's affidavit, and then your affidavit. Let's get those up on the air. Is that okay with you, James?
Mine is not an affidavit; it's a declaration, and both of them are fine. Both of them are in court record. Put them out to the world.
Okay, so declaration. Here's James' declaration, and there we go. If you can explain that to us, I'd appreciate it, and I'll get the Esquivel's affidavit.
Well, when I did the declaration, it was to set Joe Esquivel's affidavit and his analysis up. I dealt with, in Texas, the statutes don't define what timeliness is in a filing of an assignment of mortgage. So I spent the time and went to all the other categories of law for for election, mechanics deeds, construction deeds, or liens, and so forth. What are their timely definitions? Damn well ain't 7 years. And right. then addressed all of that. Then went into with the part with the an endorsement that's marked paid to the order of an unidentified does not create a bearer instrument. This was never challenged at the federal court's level and left remains, so then it allowed Joe to come in on the motion for summary judgment and all that for him to pull in his affidavit that explained in specificity what I had just declared in a declaration.
Right. Right. I'm going to just read, it's item number 13. This is on the declaration from James, and then we're going to jump to Joe's affidavit. Whereas the declator has personally inspected an alleged true and correct copy of the note, observance notes the instrument carried a payee's stamp with instruction without recourse and paid to the order of blank, which under Uniform Commercial Code Article 3.115 and Texas adopted version has not created a bearer paper instrument to allow for any assignment of the deed of trust to be eligible for recordation in any Texas county clerk's office. So this was in support of the Rodriguez lawsuit to help the judge and really understand, basically in my words, the games these banks have been playing.
Yes.
Right.
But let's not cut short the judge's intelligence, because I think it is way on up there. I think there is uncommunicated understandings on what people are doing. We don't understand why. Just let God work his miracles sometimes and do it.
Absolutely. Like you said, that it was a serendipitous, my word, accident that the Countrywide B of A case would be shifted into federal court and land on the same judge's desk, basically.
Well, it did, so
exactly.
It's there.
Exactly. So here's the affidavit. Is there any place in particular you think we should be looking?
No, you have to look at it all in a whole to be able to comprehend it, because if you try to, it's kind of like I say, reading the Bible. If you go in there and you try to read the scripture here or there, you're going to end up being a Bible thumper. Apply the Bible as a whole and understand it as a whole, so that you're not a Bible thumper.
And I wanted to point out to folks that on item number 6, just a couple pages into this, Joe starts to talk about the intangible obligation and the separation of it, which is what you've been talking to us, James, now for several months. And you send us those documents. I have those linked on the Homeowner for Justice site. I think I'm going to start a blog on it, because I think this is really the key. I think it's a it helps people understand, if you will, these how they've bifurcated, how they split into the two laws, if you will, the equity and statutory laws, and basically by doing that they've lost the rights. My summary.
In simpleness, that it would be correct, but it's a lot more complicated than that. But once understood, it's simple.
I understand, and I'm trying to simplify, because basically at this point the people, us, those people fighting alone, when people email me and say, help me, I got an auction tomorrow, they don't have time to really understand the details. They just need to know the simple form, the simple version.
I look at it this way, CJ. It says if you're going to describe cooking an egg in boiling water, making a hard-boiled egg, you're going to sit there and say, put the egg in water, put it on a pan, turn the fire on, let it cook for 3 minutes.
Right.
Well, a lot of people are going to look at what's the exothermic or the endothermic reactions of the egg to get there and all that. So there's a lot more going on inside that pot than just the boiling of the egg. But most people only care about the results. Am I going to get a hard-boiled egg? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Give me the results. Now, I wanted to also mention that this affidavit, evidently, this is a this is with what, Fannie or Freddie? Fannie Mae.
It's Fannie or Freddie or Fannie. I don't remember.
This is a Fannie Mae Remick Trust, are the owners. And so, according to
no.
I mean,
Fannie Mae only owns the intangible.
I understand.
Payment stream.
I understand.
Stand corrected.
Of the intangible. Sorry, I didn't finish. Of the intangible obligation.
Right. The interest in.
Right. The interest in. That's correct.
That's how simple it is for people to make mistakes.
Exactly. Because it is complicated, and yet the answer, the result is really simple. It's a cheat. They've been cheating us, scamming us and the judicial system so that they could get the property, get all the money, and get all the property too.
Yeah, but their dye's wearing off of that sheep clothing.
Well, we can only just be so thankful to people like you, James, and others that have just been fighting for a decade to bring this to our attention, because without that, they just keep doing what they're doing. It happened to be working. You know, they've taken millions and millions of people's homes.
And they will attempt to do it again somewhere in the future. History has written itself.
I personally believe that the underlying root, one of the root causes of this kind of fraud that just seems to keep bubbling its wicked head up, is the fact that the Congress, the people, have given away, have turned over to private parties the ability to create money out of nothing. And they've just gone willy-nilly. There's not been rules, and we can't control that, and I believe we need to take that right back. And that's another discussion, but I do believe that's the root, and when we change that, we have more chances to keep the fraud that blooms up. We can prune it back, try to pull out these weeds to keep control, so that we don't face this kind of tyranny. But that's my perspective. So I don't have either of these, the affidavits, your declaration or this affidavit, yet linked to the lawsuit spreadsheet, but I will put them there.
Well, I'll tell you what, if one reads Joe's analysis in his affidavits, one would be a fool not to engage his service, because it is the most specific and precise thing I've ever read in my life.
Right. Now here's another question. You're already talking about next week, later this month, taking these decisions and going in to the sheriff, to the DA, to criminally charge these people. How do you envision this going down? What are you gonna do?
I've already been to the city of Alice, and I've already had a conversation with the city attorney and the chief of police. Bring them the facts. It will be the local jurisdiction that has authority, which would be the police. Let them go arrest the bastards.
Are they willing to do that?
Yes. Just bring them the orders.
All right. So okay. So they also understand that when the judge does this ruling, then they're not worried about bank blowback, right? Because they already have the ruling.
You've already proved they're criminals. What more do you need to do? All they got to do is go arrest them and ship them to prison. You've already proven them. Well, maybe not ship them directly to prison, ship them past the judge to see how long they're going to spend in prison.
Yeah, and I would say without bond. Lock them up and keep them because they're going to run. I swear. This is truly the people that need to be locked up under lock and key and in prison. So what are the criminal charges? Have they even talked about kind of time this would be they would get for this? What does Texas law say? Do you know?
I'm not going to go into what they're going to get criminally. That is totally out of my realm.
Well, I know what I want. The maximum. Whatever Texas law says is the max. Now, have you already written a press release so that you're ready when this happens?
CJ, I can write something usually in 30 minutes.
I think we need to be prepared, and I truly will drop whatever we've got scheduled for this. You guys don't have any way to live stream, do you? Do you have any live stream?
I don't know what all Joe's capable of, because I've moved back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and Joe has moved from Vegas, is now down in the Austin area, so that he's in Texas.
Okay. Well, boy, it'd be worth flying down there. Keep me posted, please. The people want to see this. I swear they want to see this, and they want to see this in living color when it happens. Because this is truly, like you've been saying, this is a pivot. This is a pivot point. We get these rulings, we start going after these people criminally. It's going to just shift the mentality of the homeowners in the country. It's going to bring to light the reality that this has been an attempted theft. And actually theft, not attempted. In Rodriguez's case, it's attempted. Explain again why that's attempted and the others that they've already taken is not.
Because the reason why in Rodriguez it's attempted, because he stopped them at the gate from taking possession, so it's attempted theft.
Right. He's still in the house.
They couldn't get the house. If they had gotten the house, then the federal case would been dismissed because he doesn't have an interest in it. So it was imperative that he fight the eviction to remain in possession to keep the federal case alive. They'll cascade failure on themselves.
Wow. So what about people who've been, their house has been stolen, and the bank did not have right to title? What can they do?
Well, they're going to have to make a decision. What is is it for the full value of the house? Is it what they're looking at, or have they moved on enough? Because if they're only talking about, let's just say $100,000 in equity in a $500,000 home, what's their investment going to be able to try to get that $100,000 back? Is it going to be $250,000? They're going to have to make a logical decision. Where do I draw the financial line? I can't call that ball for them.
Right. Hey, James, can you introduce the little girl that I'm showing on the picture that you keep using as your picture? Who is she?
The little girl that's on my Skype is the daughter of an adopted niece. She's not blood related. It's just somebody that I cared about from when they were a child, and I've watched over them and everything else. And when she was 19 years old, she came from a unique family. and she told me she wanted a little girl to be raised, that she could raise the way she wished she had been raised. Man, I couldn't argue with that one. So the first year of that little one's life, her crib was in my bedroom. I'm the one that got up at 1 o'clock in the morning with the bottle and the diapers, and I'd do it again.
This is our future.
The children are the future.
Absolutely.
And it's not our children, it's children.
It's the children. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the legacy that we leave.
Yes.
And why the fight is so important.
Yes.
Anything else, James, that you can leave us with today? We're going to have to go, but we so appreciate your input, advice, effort. So what parting words do you have for us?
Godspeed.
And to you and to everyone, may God be with us. May the force be with us, because truly the people are on the side of right, and we need to win, and we need to beat back that bank attack. I want to close today with that because it's such a powerful song. Thanks, guys, and we're going to see you tomorrow.
Bye, CJ.
Bye now.
We elect, they neglect, then they have to go. Then they have to go. We gon' beat back the bank attack. We gon' beat back that bank attack. We gon' beat back the bank attack. We gon' beat back that bank attack. Set up with the people, yeah, yeah, and down with the bank. Those green banks. Set up with the people, yeah, yeah, and down with the bank. Those dirty banks. Yeah, it's capitalism, political arcade. Stop the evictions, we picket and blockade. March and rally for social justice. Forged signatures got the robo busted. Do the right thing now, reduce the principle. Job growth, increase residuals. We're solidified, can't divide and conquer. When we fight, we win. The pride to prosper. With people power, we equal the power. Civil disobedience to veto the dollar. Close our bank accounts, oppose their policy. Loan mod programs don't work, it's a lottery. So what do we do when the banks attack? Stand up, fight back! Yeah, and we don't want no cash for keys. We want to enter this catastrophe rapidly. We gon' beat back the bank attack. We gon' beat back that bank attack. We gon' beat back the bank attack. We gon' beat back that bank attack. Set up with the people, yeah, yeah, and down with the bank. Those greedy banks. Set up with the people, yeah, yeah, and down with the bank. Those dirty banks. Fannie Mae, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side. It's pain for the many, profits for the few. Wells Fargo, we're coming for you. Get your voice back, tell your story. Yell out, this is city life territory. We got the right to the city. Vida Urbana, life in the city. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Stimulus pack, first class Bora Bora. Meanwhile, we staring in the eye of the storm. Earthquakes, hurricanes, trying to hold on. But U.S. Bank, we're here to prove what? We shall not be moved. Only a judge can evict you. You wanna fight for your home? Then we'll fight with you. We gon' beat back the bank attack. We gon' beat back that bank attack. We gon' beat back the bank attack. We gon' beat back that bank attack. Set up with the people, yeah, yeah, and down with the bank. Those dirty banks. Set up with the people, yeah, yeah, and down with the bank. Those greedy banks. Yeah, yeah. Those dirty banks. Yeah, yeah. Those greedy banks. Yeah, yeah. Those greedy banks. Yeah, yeah. Those dirty banks.